Good afternoon. This meeting of the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission will now come to order. The time is 3:03 p.m. on Saturday, October 15th. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, it's great to see so many of you here at the Honda Resort and Casino in our second round of public hearings. We were here during the first round and had a great crowd as well, so glad you're all back to provide input today. The primary purpose of our meeting today is to get input from you. We're here to listen, and the topic will be the draft congressional and draft legislative maps that the commission has approved. So we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say, and if you would like to speak with us, please fill out a yellow request to speak form that you should have seen on the way in. And if you're not interested in speaking at the podium today, you can fill out a blue sheet, and your comments will still be entered into the record just the same as if you had stood at the podium and said them. So two easy ways to come give us input today. And you'll be hearing more about that in a little bit from our presentation, but I just wanted to point that out early. So let's have roll call. Vice Chair Freeman. Here. Vice Chair Herrera. Commissioner McNulty. Here. Commissioner Sturts. And just so everyone knows, all the commissioners aren't attending necessarily all of the meetings. In fact, all the meetings we've had so far in the second round, there's just been a subset of the commission at each of them. We're going to 26 places across the state, so we're kind of divvying them up among the commissioners. So I'm sure Vice Chair Herrera and Commissioner Sturts are watching this via streaming or will be watching it once they have an opportunity to do so, because it will be all recorded, and you can pull it up on your computer at home at a later time. All of our hearings are available on our website to watch. Other folks at the table today, we have legal counsel Joe Canefield and our mapping consultant, Andrew Dreschler. Thank you. Way to cover, Ray. And our Chief Technology Officer, Buck Forrest, our Executive Director, Ray Bladine, and we also have a court reporter, Michelle, who's taking an accurate transcript of today's meeting. We also have public outreach coordinators in the back, Karen Herman and Shane Shields, and please feel free to talk to any of our staff if you have any questions or need anything throughout the meeting. They'll be happy to help you out. We also have some translators today. By federal law, we're required to provide translation services for anybody who needs them. And today we have 3. And we'll ask each one of them to come up and say a few words in their native languages and provide the opportunity for translation services for anyone who might need them. So I'll start with Carlos Reyes. He is our Spanish translator today.
Good afternoon, Chief Mathis and Commissioners. Ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with the Voting Rights Act, a translator and interpreter will be available at the public hearings in order to provide translating and interpreting services that might be needed for those citizens that need translating or interpreting services. Please contact the translator and interpreter present at the meeting so that he or she can assist you. And now I will read the script in Spanish, and it says, Presidenta Mathis, comisionados, damas y caballeros, de acuerdo a la Ley de los Derechos Electorales, un traductor e intérprete estará disponible en todas las reuniones de audiencia pública a fin de proporcionar la interpretación que pueda ser necesaria para los ciudadanos que necesiten servicios de interpretación o traducción. The interpreters for Apache and Navajo will also come up and read the script in their languages.
Thank you, Carlos. Our next interpreter is Bonnie Lewis for Apache. Thank you.
Okay, hello for the Apache speakers. Consul Kaihi is Sanande ku commissioners Hibishko. It is a bagos on Jidago da Han Kiati Yati Inka Sitagos on Hatigol Zeonil. It goes the you go a bigger Konipa Sitala Han Yati. You got Sin Dastan Bandasnich or D to Lesnua go a Sheila a Kunuhasitar let's go. De Beati Jidao Stinua. Ahia. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last interpreter is Louise Curley for Navajo.
Yatek Chair Mattis, Yatek the Nemphizabin, they Taigi Shady Louise Curley in Shiadishin Quiet Lahegi a quiet and Shatahanet or Nenazanigi a quiet not Hashnet or Haladid Asahata Alehot Hashin to Besagani did Saigi Ajaba Tahanet or Lesligi did also Asanta at Leho e Aj Baholot or Les Nobena Eben Natch a quiet Shados Kano a quiet and hid. Ni dato ni yado les oshi yito kilchi did nek ejet chat hanet do les sanigi yaha.
Thank you. So with that, I think we'll go over to our mapping consultant, Andrew Dreschler, and he'll be giving us a presentation on the process.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here today. As the chair mentioned, one of the main purposes of being here today is to present the draft maps. The draft maps are currently under a 30-day review period, which means that's one of the big reasons we're here today, is we want to hear your opinions on the maps. Before we start with the maps, we just wanted to give a quick overview of the process. Arizona's redistricting process is governed by the state constitution, as amended by voters in 2000, with the passage of Proposition 106. It stipulates that Arizona's Independent Redistricting Commission redraw Arizona's congressional and legislative districts to reflect the results of the most recent census. Due to the 2010 census, Arizona gained a congressional seat, so we're going from 8 seats to 9 seats. What are the guidelines of Proposition 106? These are the 6 rules that are sort of governing the map drawing. A, must comply with the U.S. Constitution and Voter Rights Act. B, equal population. Just a reminder, criteria A and B are federally mandated, which means we have to have those 2. The other 6 are part of the state constitution and are to the extent practicable. C, compact and contiguous. D, respect communities of interest. E, use visible geographic features, city, town, and county boundaries, and undivided census tracts. And F, favor competitive districts where no significant detriment to other goals. We just want to cover the Voting Rights Act. Arizona's congressional and legislative districts must receive pre-clearance or approval from the Department of Justice or a federal court under Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act before they can take effect. To get pre-clearance, Arizona must demonstrate the new districts do not discriminate against minority voters in purpose or effect. which means that there can be no intentional or accidental discrimination. Under Section 5, Arizona's redistricting plans cannot be retrogressive. The plans cannot weaken or reduce minority voters' rights. The presence of discrimination can be determined by analyzing population data and election results. We wanted to quick go over the timeline of the entire commission. There's 6 main steps involved with the commission. The first step was setting up the commission. Earlier this year, commissioners were appointed through a thorough screening process, and all the commissioners are serving in a voluntary capacity. The commissioners are Scott Freeman, Vice Chair, who's with us today, Jose Herrera, Vice Chair, Chairwoman Colleen Mathis, who's here today, Commissioner Linda McNulty, who's also here today, and Commissioner Richard Sturts. Second step was the first round of hearings. Before drawing a single line, the commission held 23 public hearings around the state in July and August to get input from members of the public about issues relevant to redistricting such as geography, communities of interest, minority voting rights, and competitiveness. Then started the mapping, step 3. Per Proposition 106, we're to start with a grid map, which means that we're not supposed to take into consideration any of the past lines. This was approved on August 18th, and only 2 considerations, 2 of the 6 criteria were taken into consideration, that being equal population and compactness. Since adopting the grid maps, the commission has met more than 25 times to consider adjustments to the grid map to accommodate all the state's constitutional criteria. During this time, they received additional public comments and draft maps. Approval of the maps. On October 3rd, the commission approved the draft congressional maps that incorporated the changes based on the constitutional criteria and the public comment that we heard. It then approved the draft legislative maps on October 10th, just Monday of this week. We're currently in step 4, the second round of hearings. We're currently visiting 25 towns and cities around the state to share the draft maps and receive additional public opinion during the month of October. Step 5, final maps. Upon completion of the public comment period, the commission will adopt final maps, and the final step in the process is pre-clearance. Because Arizona is subject to Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, the district maps must be approved by the Federal Department of Justice or a federal court in Washington, D.C. before they can be used for the Arizona elections. Before we show you the draft congressional map, we just wanted to go through the process. This was the last map. This was the map that was approved by the last commission and most recently used in the 2010 elections. Per Proposition 106, we started with a blank map, and then one of the first steps we did was draw the grid map. And again, the grid map only takes into consideration the equal population and compactness and is meant as a starting point for the draft maps. After more than 25 meetings, the commission voted to approve the draft map that you see here. Besides taking into consideration the 6 criteria, the commission took into consideration public comments provided via public meetings, round 1 of public hearings, comments mailed, emailed, hand-delivered, faxed, and telephoned into the commission. Over 5,000 public comments were inputted to help develop this map. And as you see here, some of the highlights of the map is it includes 2 predominantly rural districts, 3 border districts, 2 districts in the city of Tucson, 5 districts that are entirely in Maricopa County. It avoids splitting Arizona's Indian reservations, and 2 districts where minority voters have the opportunity to elect the candidate of their choice. This map, there's a wall size of this map in the back of the room as well. The legislative map went through a very similar process. This was the legislative map developed by the last commission and most recently used for the 2010 elections. Again, Proposition 106 required us to start with a blank slate. And this was the grid map for the legislative that was developed and approved on August 18th. The legislative draft map, some highlights. The old districts that you saw a couple slides ago currently have population of 155,000 to 378,000. So the new draft that you see here has population of 207,000 to 215,000. To comply with the Voting Rights Act, the draft map includes 10 districts which minority voters have the opportunity to elect the candidate of their choice. The draft map includes 3 districts wholly within Pima County and 3 additional Southern Arizona districts, 17 districts primarily within Maricopa County, and 9 districts primarily rural. As the chairwoman mentioned today, one of the main reasons that we're here today is we want to hear what your thoughts are on the maps, things you like, things that you may change. We ask you to fill out a request to speak form at the public hearings and provide the commission your input. Example of thoughts include any of the constitutional criteria, thoughts on the draft congressional map, and thoughts on the legislative map as well. So you can submit your input by speaking at today's hearing. At the back of the packet that you received, there's a blue form where you can do written comments, and there's an address on it to mail it in. Other options is there's a phone number at the bottom that you can also call the commission and give us any thoughts of the maps. You can also visit us at www.azredistricting.org or call us at 602-542-5221 or toll free at 855-733-7478. This is just a shot of the home page of our website. Just a couple things that we want to point out. The 2 arrows on the left show where you can find the maps. The arrows on the right, one has meetings. So if you wanted to watch any of the meetings that covered the deliberation of how they got to the draft map, all of those are up on the website, and you can watch that. Also, information on future meetings is up on the website, and you can stream most of our meetings. And if we don't have internet access at one of the locations where we're doing a public hearing, the stream is usually up within 48 hours. There's also a place where you can enter or click to do public input. And then down at the bottom is the arrow pointing to maps. If you click on either of those, it'll bring you to the draft maps that we have approved and that you saw today. When you click on this, the bottom maps area, it brings you to this screen. And this is just something we wanted to point out. Circled in red are the ability to get to the Google Maps, and this is something that many members of the public have really liked because they are able to click on those and really scroll down and see what are the boundaries that make up your district. So if you click on either of those, it'll bring you to a page that looks like this, and it will allow you to scroll in, and you can get down as much as you want, and it will show exact boundary lines, whether that's roads making it up or other features that make up